Deep in the Amazon rainforest, where sunlight barely touches the ground and every sound echoes with mystery, a camera was discovered that would reveal one of the most haunting disappearances of our time. What it contained would change everything we thought we knew about what happened to Marcus Webb. Marcus Webb wasn't just any filmmaker. At 34 years old, he had already won 2 awards for his nature documentaries. He had filmed grizzly bears in Alaska, tracked snow leopards in the Himalayas, and documented life in the deepest parts of the ocean. But the Amazon was different. The Amazon was his obsession. In March 2019, Marcus told his family he was heading into the Brazilian rainforest for what he called the project of a lifetime. He had heard stories from local guides about an uncontacted indigenous tribe living deep in the forest, far from any mapped territory. He wanted to document their existence without disturbing them, to show the world that there were still places untouched by modern civilization. His plan was simple: spend 3 weeks in the jungle, film what he could, and return with footage that would change how people viewed conservation. He packed his equipment carefully: his professional camera, 3 backup batteries, a satellite phone, water purification tablets, and enough food for a month, just in case. His last communication came on March 18th. A brief text message to his sister: "Found something incredible. Going deeper. Don't worry." After that, silence. When Marcus didn't return by his scheduled date, his family contacted the Brazilian authorities. A search party was organized. Helicopters flew over the dense canopy. Expert trackers followed the paths they thought he might have taken. Local guides who knew the forest better than anyone joined the effort. No torn clothing caught on branches, no abandoned equipment, no signs of a struggle or an animal attack. It was as if Marcus Webb had simply walked into the green wall of the jungle and vanished into thin air. After 3 months, the official search was called off. Marcus was declared missing, presumed dead. His family held a memorial service without a body to bury. The jungle had swallowed him whole, and it seemed like it would never give him back. Life moved on, as it always does. Marcus's family tried to find closure. His documentary work was compiled into a memorial collection. Aspiring filmmakers studied his techniques in film school, but there was always that question hanging in the air like humidity: what really happened to Marcus Webb? His sister Sarah never stopped wondering. She kept his last message saved on her phone, reading it over and over. Found something incredible. What had he found? Why did he go deeper when he knew it was dangerous? In the years that followed, there were occasional rumors. A tourist claimed to have seen camera equipment in a village market, but it turned out to be someone else's gear. A guide reported finding a campsite that might have been Marcus's, but without any concrete evidence, it led nowhere. The mystery seemed destined to remain unsolved till July 2023. A group of researchers studying deforestation patterns were using drones to map a remote section of the Amazon that had recently been threatened by illegal logging. As they reviewed their footage, something unusual caught their attention: a metallic glint in an area where no human activity had been recorded. They decided to investigate on foot. After 2 days of hiking through dense vegetation, they found it. A waterproof camera case, partially buried under leaves and moss, held fast by vines that had grown around it like the forest was trying to keep it hidden. Inside was Marcus Webb's camera. The equipment was damaged but not destroyed. The case had done its job, protecting the contents from moisture and insects. The memory cards were still intact. When the researchers realized what they had found, they immediately contacted authorities, who then reached out to Marcus's family. Sarah flew to Brazil as soon as she heard. She needed to see the footage herself, needed to know what her brother's last days had been like. Technical experts worked carefully to retrieve the data from the memory cards. Not all of it was salvageable, but what remained told an extraordinary and chilling story. The footage began normally. Marcus hiking through the forest, his trademark enthusiasm evident as he pointed out interesting plants and animals. His narration was professional, informative, full of wonder at the biodiversity surrounding him. He documented colorful birds, poisonous frogs, and the intricate ecosystems that existed in the canopy above. On day 4, his tone changed. He had found tracks, not animal tracks, human footprints, bare feet, heading deeper into unexplored territory. His voice on the recording showed excitement but also caution. "This could be it," he whispered to the camera. "This could be proof of the uncontacted tribe." He followed the tracks for 2 more days. The footage showed him moving slowly, carefully, respecting the space. He knew the dangers of contact with isolated peoples. Not just the danger to himself, but the danger he represented to them. Even a common cold could devastate a community with no immunity. Then came the footage that everyone who has seen it calls the clearing scene. Marcus emerged into a clearing that seemed almost magical. Rays of sunlight broke through the canopy, illuminating a space that looked deliberately maintained. There were signs of habitation, faint trails, areas where vegetation had been cleared, evidence of fire pits long cold. But there was something else, something Marcus focused on with his camera for nearly 10 minutes. Stone structures. Not natural formations, but carved stones arranged in patterns that suggested purpose, intelligence, design. They were covered in moss and vines, clearly ancient, but their artificial origin was unmistakable. Marcus's voice on the recording was barely a whisper. "This isn't supposed to be here. There's no record of stone construction like this in this part of the Amazon. This could rewrite history." He spent hours documenting the site, measuring, photographing, trying to understand what he was seeing. The structures weren't crude. They showed sophistication, mathematical precision, and they were old, possibly hundreds of years old. As the sun began to set, Marcus made camp at the edge of the clearing. The footage showed him eating, reviewing his day's recordings, his face showing exhaustion, but also exhilaration. He was documenting a discovery that could change anthropological understanding of the region. The final recordings were made the following morning. Marcus woke to sounds in the forest, movement in the trees, the sense of being watched. His camera captured his growing unease. He knew he wasn't alone anymore. Then figures appeared at the edge of the clearing. The footage is shaky here, as if Marcus's hands were trembling. Indigenous people, perhaps 15 or 20 of them, standing silently watching him. They made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear. He was not welcome. Marcus did exactly what he had always said he would do in such a situation. He slowly packed his equipment, made no sudden movements, kept his distance. He spoke softly to his camera, explaining what he was doing. "I'm leaving. This is their home, their sacred space. I got the footage. That's enough." The video showed him walking backward, camera still recording, keeping the figures in view so as not to surprise them. His professionalism remained even in what must have been a terrifying situation. He was respecting their boundaries, protecting their isolation. The last clear footage showed Marcus entering the forest, looking back one more time at the clearing and the stone structures. Then the video became erratic, bouncing images of leaves, sky, ground, as if the camera was running while Marcus moved quickly. There were sounds, shouting, not in Portuguese or English, running footsteps, Marcus's heavy breathing, and then suddenly the camera fell. The lens pointed up at the canopy, unmoving. For 30 seconds, it recorded only sky and leaves. Then a hand, brown, strong, decorated with some kind of woven band, reached down and picked up the camera. The lens was turned, facing back toward the clearing, and there, barely visible in the green shadows, was Marcus. He was on his knees, surrounded, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. The camera was set down carefully, propped against something, still recording. For 10 more minutes it captured distant figures moving in the clearing, then nothing, just the sounds of the jungle for hours, until the battery finally died. The footage answered some questions but created many more. What happened after the camera stopped recording? Was Marcus trying to run, or had he simply gone too far into territory he should have respected? Why was the camera left so deliberately, as if placed for someone to find? Experts who studied the footage noted something crucial. The indigenous people shown never appeared aggressive. They moved with purpose, but not violence. The way the camera was set down suggested care, not anger. Some anthropologists believe Marcus may have accidentally entered a sacred site, something the tribe had protected for generations. Others think the stone structures themselves were what triggered the response. Perhaps they were burial grounds or had religious significance. What everyone agrees on is this: the tribe made a choice to leave the camera where it could eventually be found. They took Marcus, but left his story. Is Marcus Webb still alive? The footage is now 4 years old, and the camera was found 2 years after the last recording. Hope is thin, but Sarah refuses to believe her brother is dead. She points to the care with which the camera was handled, the lack of violence in the footage, the deliberate placement that allowed it to eventually be discovered. She's working with researchers and indigenous rights organizations to understand more about the isolated tribes in that region. But everyone agrees, no search party should be sent. If Marcus is alive and living with the tribe, a rescue attempt could endanger everyone involved. If he's not, disturbing the area serves no purpose. The Brazilian government has expanded the protected zone around where the camera was found, recognizing it as territory that must remain isolated. The stone structures Marcus documented have been recorded in academic literature, though their exact location remains classified. Marcus Webb's final footage has been seen by millions now. It's been used in documentaries about uncontacted peoples, in discussions about exploration ethics, and in conversations about what we owe to cultures that want no contact with our own. His family has established a foundation in his name, dedicated to protecting isolated tribes and preserving their right to remain uncontacted. Because perhaps that's the final message from those last recordings. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some places aren't meant to be explored. Some people have the right to remain hidden from the modern world. Sarah keeps the camera in a secure location, but she's made copies of the footage available to researchers. She says her brother would have wanted that, would have wanted his last work to mean something, to teach something, even if the lesson isn't what he expected to be teaching. Every year on the anniversary of Marcus's disappearance, she returns to Brazil. She never goes into the jungle. She understands now why that would be wrong. Instead, she stands at its edge, at the point where civilization meets the wild, and she looks into that wall of green. She says she's not looking for her brother anymore. She's just acknowledging that he found what he was searching for. He found people living outside our world, protecting something ancient and sacred. He found the edge of the known world, and maybe, just maybe, he's still out there, living a life we can't imagine, in a place we'll never see. His camera came back to tell us his story. Perhaps that's all we're meant to know. The jungle keeps its secrets, and sometimes that's exactly how it should be.